Hello Exiles, and welcome to a new video. So this is my fourth update now for this build. Double strike Impale champion, new reworked one, and let's do a map showcase first. Nothing extraordinary, just a basic map. And I'm doing this on my old skill tree that I was using before, just because I want the map to be fast and don't want it to take forever, because in the other one I was trying to farm rogue exiles, possessed of course, and all of that. So the maps took quite some time, not because it was like super hard for this build, but because just the nature of rogue exiles. When they're possessed, they're usually quite tanky, and if you don't one-shot them or freeze them, they're sometimes running around and dodging your stuff or running away from you, basically. So it took a bit of time. And also, yeah, also that. But I made some upgrades to the build. Not nearly as much upgrades to the character itself as I did to my Mercenary. And yeah, my Mercenary is a lot stronger than it was. And with the changes now, they should be back at their former glory. But let's not get ahead of myself, because that's the main thing I want to talk about in this video. So let's quickly just find the boss. Ah, there he is. He's dealing chaos damage, so my health can pop down quite a lot. But as you can see, he's got 1.3 brittle on him. This one got 1.6. That's an important number, because the next thing I'm gonna talk about. Remember 1.3, 1.6 brittle. So yeah, that's the map showcase. And yeah, let's now start talking about the mercenaries. And remember the 1.3, 1.6 brittle on these bosses? I equipped I completely changed the mercenary to the kineticist. And she's got completely different set of gear than my other or older mercenary used. So she's still wearing prequel stow, but everything else is changed. And why did I do the change about brittle? Of course, Gale's Sight was enabling me the brittle, not brittle ground anymore. But why did I do this change? Why did I do this change? And that was because if I wanted to keep double strike of momentum, then I knew I have to apply brittle passively, not actively, sort of, with the burning ground. Oh, I mean brittle ground. Because for the brittle ground, you need to move. It can be just a slight click, the slightest move you can do, for example this. And it would apply to brittle ground, of course, yes, that's not a lot. But double strike of momentum has, of course, these stacks, and you want to be at the most stacks you can get, because each stack is giving you 10% more attack speed, and with quality it's 14% more attack speed. So at 10 stacks, it's 100 or 140, depending on your quality, more attack speed, which is insane if you combine it with the scaling for increased attack speed we have, not just from our champion, from this node right here, but even the attack speed we get from permanent onslaught, from perseverance, and all of that. So yeah, I wanted to keep the attack speed of double strike of momentum, since I felt like my damage is enough to just pop packs in just 1 or 2 hits. So it didn't feel bad, because double strike of momentum comes with the trade-off of quite low base attack damage compared to the other versions of double strike. And yeah, I was considering using double strike of impaling again because of that reason. But then I decided, you know what? I still don't even know what mercenary am I going to use. So let's try a different one. And I had in my hideout my kineticist level 81. And yes, I started using this mercenary, and I gave her Gale's Sight just to try it. How much of a brittle is she going to apply, since she has tier 3 greater added cold damage on her kinetic blast? And yeah, she started applying quite a lot of brittle, or I immediately bought Painseeker gloves for inflict non-damaging ailments as though dealing more damage. It rose from 100 to 200, and that affects the brittle effect. And so what I did was I put this helmet on her, and I went to some low tier maps just to see how much brittle she can apply without. And without on normal enemies, she wasn't even at capped. Yeah, basically. And so then I tried a higher tier map, and I remember that one rare monster where she wasn't applying brittle at all. I mean, at all. So I decided that I'm gonna try those Painseeker gloves. And all of a sudden, on that monster where there was no brittle at all on the monster, she started applying about 1.3, 1.5 brittle. And I said, oh my god, that's pretty impressive. It wasn't even a tier 16 map, by the way. And yeah, the rare was quite tanky, actually. But I said that, well, it is quite impressive. So I decided to gear around it. And what that means, combining the Gale Sight with Painseeker gloves, of course. And then I bought Anathema. And started, yeah, basically that's where it started. These three items were the core, and then I started to figure out what other items can I use. And yeah, with Painseeker gloves you can get corruption for enfeeble or vulnerability, or both, if it is double corrupted actually. That might be the upgrade I'm looking for. But yeah, I got enfeeble for now because I bought a ring with vulnerability. I didn't buy this one exactly. I bought a different one, which I sold already. And then I bought base of Warlord Influence 2-stone ring. I needed this specific resists because now she's capped on resist thanks to this ring. And I just used Reforge Caster, this thing right here, on a crafting bench, on a harvest crafting bench. Yeah, Reforge Caster, and this guarantees one of three outcomes. It guarantees flammability on hit, or vulnerability on hit, or cast speed on that ring. One of those three. The most you're gonna get is, of course, cast speed, because that's the least rarest, but that's the most common one. So usually it's gonna be cast speed, but this is also frequent enough to make it reliable to craft something like this. This ring is just really bad. All I needed was resists, and that's pretty much it. Ideally I would have probably life and cold, flat cold damage, but yeah, as you could have seen, she's applying pretty, I would say that's pretty impressive to apply that much. And by the way, the monsters has endurance charges, so there was even less elemental damage taken or reduced. And she was applying 1.3, 1.6, 1.5 brittles with just these two items, and all of her added, or all of her flat cold damage is actually from these gloves. And that's it. Because why do I say that? I would bet my money on, if I would revisit the video right now, I would see that she didn't even use Kinetic Blast of Clustering on those bosses. For some reason, she just doesn't want to use Kinetic Blast of Clustering on bosses, and that's why I really need to upgrade my Mercenary, because what she's casting most of the time is Kinetic Bolt, especially on bosses. During mapping, she sometimes presses Kinetic Blast, but on bosses it's mostly Kinetic Bolt, and the Kinetic Bolt is of course the one without added lightning damage. So Kinetic Bolt applies like, I don't know, let's say Kinetic Bolt applies 1% brittle and Kinetic Blast applies 2.5% brittle. Let's say like that. That's that much of a difference in just this one support. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, for now it will do, it works. And yeah, other than that, still pretty cool stove. And I anointed it. Yeah, by the way, anoints absolutely work. GGG confirmed this in the review, or what is it called? trailer announcement video. In the announcement video of this league, basically they confirmed it that anointments will work. It was in the Q&A section, I think, and I anointed it with Ash, Frost, and Storm just for some increased daily damage, increased effect of non-damaging ailments, which is great, by the way, because Brittle is our non-damaging ailment. And most importantly, why did I want it so much, is 10% chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. The freeze doesn't matter, I think, because the 10% chance to freeze, I'm not sure, but I don't believe it converts into 10% chance to brittle. I don't think so. But anyways, we've got 42% chance to brittle on our helmet, and that's enough. And 10% chance to ignite, that's useless for me currently in this version. I don't do anything with ignite. But there is 10% chance to shock, and that's really important for my next plans that I want to do. And I'll explain what will that be in a sec. But yeah, that's the anointment, really good one. Still giving us lucky damage. And yeah, I bought the boots. I was looking at the wiki for unique boots like 3 or 4 times right now, and I went through all of them. And I didn't find any super interesting unique boots for my build, of course, because this build is pure physical. And with the mercenaries, I just really think that it's the time to play elemental attack or elemental spell build, just anything elemental related, because it looks super fun if you combine it with mercenaries, like things like elemental weakness, or all of the curses, all of the debuffs that the mercenaries can do. I mean, it's the time to play Ellie builds. All of the reduced resistances and exposures that mercenary items or items you would use on a mercenary can do, that's insane actually. So yeah, elemental builds, probably the next build, or definitely the next build's gonna be elemental, and I'm probably gonna be lightning based, just a spoiler alert, I don't know what yet, but yeah. These are the boots, just life resist and armor to balance out the stats a bit, because yeah, I'm gonna use pure evasion body armor. The belt, I bought Chaos Binding for the nearby enemies convert 25% of their physical to fire, which is great. And why it is so great, since we are scaling armor anyways, and in the later version I'm gonna have much more armor than 22k in a hideout. And yeah, by the way, it's more or less realistically like 26k. They're pretty similar, my evasion and armor, just because the Impaler node, or Master of Metal, plus 1000 armor if you've impaled recently. But yeah, why is that belt so important? Because, how would I explain it? Yeah, TLDR on armor in this game is, the bigger the hit, the less effective armor is. And lesser the hit, the more effective the armor is. So more armor you get, the better it is for the smaller hits, and also the better it is for higher damaging hits. But realistically, it is not that worth to just scale truly just armor to the moon and make it like be effective against big physical hits, because that threshold is so high that you would need to play something like Aura Stacker with maybe even a champion right now, but oh, yeah, Aura Stacker with, I mean, Aura Armor Stacker, for example. So, and then armor would be quite effective against even big hits. But yeah, now this 22k does practically not that much, I would say, against big hits. So, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. There's, I would say, not that many big physical hits, and I don't believe that the build is dying to physical hits actually. So yeah, yeah, and why I still didn't say why it is so good. It's because the nearby enemies to the mercenary are gonna convert portion of that damage to fire, 25% of that physical, which does make the hit convert 25% to fire, which means that the physical portion of the hit's gonna be lower, so your armor is more affected since the hit is slower than it used to be, right? That's why it is so effective, this belt, and all of the damage conversions. So yeah, this is truly great for lower armor because it's gonna convert that portion to fire damage, and then the 25% that was converted to fire damage is gonna get mitigated by your fire res, which is 75 usually. So basically that 25% hit is gonna get converted to fire and mitigated by 75% of your resist, or more or less, depending on how much you have. So that's why the belt is so good. And it even has armor and strength, which is great for my mercenary to balance out those stats. And I want both stats on him because I still have my grace and determination, so I buff up their armor and evasion. Then, of course, Anathema is there just for the your curse limit is equal to your maximum power charges. Default maximum power charges is 3. Thus, this ring makes 3 maximum power charges. I mean 3 maximum curses because it's equal to your power charges, which means I can, thanks to this ring, use my Assassin's Mark. I can use Enfeeble on hit. I can use Vulnerability on hit. And I've still got the room for her to use her ally weakness, just so it doesn't override my Assassin's Mark, since my Assassin's Mark is not on Mark on hit anymore. So yeah, this is exactly the number that I needed. And I might eventually give her maximum power charge through corruption on a Gale side. And give her something like conductivity, but that would be only and only when I have double corrupted Painseeker gloves with vulnerability and enfeeble. And I mean, we shall see if that's gonna happen. There was none of them on trades for, I think, yeah, the whole one day yesterday. Maybe once people actually start double corrupting more, they're gonna pop out, but we shall see. Now, Precursor's Vigil, this is there just to buff up her damage. That's it. She doesn't do much damage by any means. Like, she can clear white mobs and that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's there just for the damage. So even a bit of damage is actually gonna help her apply higher brittles, and with those gloves especially, it's gonna help her quite a lot. And eventually, I am going to switch to a wand where it has synthesis, probably switch to a wand where it has synthesis implicit for percentage chance to shock, and that's gonna help with the Ash, Frost and Storm to even do some shocks, because shock is also not damaging ailment, so it gets scaled by Painseeker gloves, so that's very good. That's why I'm trying to get even shock to this build. And by the way, you can also get her with added lightning damage support. So ideally she would use probably Kinetic Bolt, since Kinetic Bolt has higher base damage than Kinetic Blast. So she would ideally use only Kinetic Bolt, and the Kinetic Bolt would be linked with added cold damage and added lightning damage, and of course adding elemental damage with attacks. That would be just top. That would be ideal. That's what I'm aiming for. That's why I'm trying to find mercenaries. Yeah, and the last thing to talk about, you might have seen that she's still got her original body armor. Why is that? Well, it's because this, I'm gonna show you in a second. Well, let's actually put it like this, and replica here is ire. I want to use this body armor on her, just because this line right here, added lightning damage with wand attacks. She's using a wand, so she's gonna get a shit ton of added lightning damage, which means she's gonna do higher shocks, right? And she has pretty decent attack speed, so the variety of damage there is is, I would say she's gonna quite frequently hit with some higher rolls of lightning damage. So yeah, and also 25% shock duration on enemies. Base shock duration is, I think, 2 seconds. So this would make it, what, 2.25 seconds or something like that. 2.45. Yeah, something like that. I mean, actually, 2.5. What am I saying? Sorry. Yeah. And she's gonna get some spell suppression, which is quite helpful, and a shit ton of evasion. So that's why I'm using armor-only gloves, and she's still gonna have way more evasion than armor, because I'm gonna use loose armor on this body armor, and also I'm gonna lose armor on this body armor, so she's gonna have way more evasion than armor. And yeah, I think that will be a great addition to her arsenal, because I'm now prepped. She's not gonna be uncapped on resists once she's equipping the Heresiare, and she's even gonna have some spell suppress. The last thing on her gear is Emperor's Vigilance, and this, as soon I'm talking before the patch that deployed this night, before the 326C patch. And this would make her just really tank a shit ton of things. Before this shield and these boots, she was uncapped on resists, and even before the patch, she was occasionally taking some damage. Yeah, she was taking some damage, but it wasn't like she was dying. She didn't die on me once. She died, in fact, once. She died once, but that was due to elemental reflect. So yeah, the only really thing that she died to was elemental reflect, and after the patch I was so discouraged because she already had all of this gear, and all of a sudden, like with snap of the fingers, the thing that I feared the most happened. And the thing that happened was the mercenaries were released with overtuned defenses when they were on your side, and overtuned offenses, or maybe even bugged offenses when they were on the opposite side. And yeah, with that, the most of the skills, I played for like an hour after the patch, so the most of the skills were actually addressed, but some of them still well not. And the defensive part of your mercenaries, your allied mercenaries, it was cut down a lot. My mercenary, I tried, I think, 3 or 4 maps. Yeah, 4 maps, I think. And out of those 4 maps, she just died in 3 of them on, I don't know, packs of 2 Rogue Exiles or something. So that was really discouraging, and I went to bed, and I was just in the mood that I want to just lay in bed and cry all night about the changes. But on the other hand, I thought about it, that immediately I felt like they're dying a lot, so I immediately thought, okay, this is gonna get tuned down. They're gonna buff up their defenses again. And what happened was what I didn't expect. Let's actually finish the Emperor's Vigilance. The Emperor's Vigilance, just shit ton of armor, shit ton of energy shield, and chance to block spell damage with Glancing Blows. What Glancing Blows does, it is actually this keystone on the skill tree, this one. Chance to block attack damage is double, chance to block spell damage is double. You take 65% of the damage from blocked hits, which is technically, if she blocks a hit now, it's 35% damage reduction. Technically, you can think of it like that. And yeah, her stats, 42% spell block, 52% attack block, tapped on resist, chaos is 21. And one thing I found out, don't get baited by this life regen number right here, and this was before actually the patch already. This life regen number shows so high on all of the mercenaries just because they're idle in your hideout, or this actually applies even in maps, but it isn't at all times. This regen is when they are out of combat, because I even read it on the wiki that they gonna regen really quickly. There's some sentence like your mercenaries are going to regenerate really quickly once they are out of combat. And I tested it since opening up the mercenary window pauses the game. I tested it when we were in combat, when she was attacking. She had like 50 life regen, and when we stopped the combat and waited like 2 or 3 or 4 seconds maybe, she started having this 800 life regen. So that's out of combat only, just the regeneration. But it definitely helps because it just gives her time to regen between packs. So yeah, don't get baited, and don't go and say that GGG did this recently with the new patch. No, this was in the game, even when, yeah, from the start basically. No one just realized it, I guess. But yeah, now, since the mercenary talk's done, let's just talk about the patch notes real quick. And let's just say that it was a roller coaster for me, just like I said. This first sentence right here, when I started reading the patch notes, I was just so hype against seeing all the nerfs, all the numbers of enemy mercenaries being lowered. And instead, the first thing I see is notably adjusting the tankiness of allied mercenaries. And I immediately went, oh god, that's gonna destroy our mercenaries. I just know it. They were so overtuned, they're gonna put them to the ground. And that's exactly what happened. They were, even with my mercenary geared like that, to more tanky way, so she doesn't really die. She was dying at some basic ass rogue exiles, so I was really discouraged, and I just knew it when I read this note, when I read this sentence. But yeah, now it is actually probably fixed, but more on that later. And mercenaries, the rest is basically, these are all the skills, these are all the damage, the skills that were reduced in damage, and also some changes that I didn't even know that were. I thought they were scaling like players and not monsters, but apparently not. Things like power charges were giving them 200% increased crit instead of the 50. So yeah, a bit crazy if you ask me, but yeah, most of the skills got tuned down, and even I can now actually fight most of the caster mercenaries. So great, I already killed like 3 caster mercenaries, and 1 killed me. I was fighting 4, 1 of those 3 killed me, and it was because I had lower resists on that map, so that doesn't count. That's fair in my opinion. But yeah, other improvements, feel free to read it. The thing I want to talk about, because this video is getting way too long, is the hotfixes that were applied after this patch. And the hotfixes were to this article right here, of course, to the defensives of our allied mercenaries. First thing is, allied mercenaries now take 80% damage, less damage from damage over time effect. Great, I noticed that immediately, that when my mercenary had a dot on her, she was dying a lot, so this would really help. And then I read the next one. Of course, that was the first thing I did in the morning. I just wanted to see that they're buffing them up again, and that's what they did. This is the last hotfix that was deployed just a couple hours ago. Mercenaries now have the same damage reduction as with release when at level 83 and 84, and higher damage reduction at vast majority of levels. Overall, we've got mercenaries back to the position where they have equal or better damage reduction at almost all levels, notably in early game, where they are significantly more durable, especially from level 40 plus. And I was just here, hands behind my back, and oh yeah, that's what I was expecting. So, and that's what I was hoping for. I would be fine with some nerf to their defenses, because honestly it's just ridiculous. They were able to tank better than, much better than me in higher tier maps, than with uncapped resists, than I ever could. So it was ridiculous, and I didn't expect that they're gonna put them to level where they are. So Now they're back. If I understand this correctly, at least, now they should be back at the exactly the same power level when they were, or defense level where they were, and yeah, so even stronger now. Basically, the scaling is smoothened out. It's stretched a bit. Let's say there is somewhere here in the article. It was said that there was some big threshold for, I don't know, let's say, sorry, let's say level 70, and on level 70, the mercenary would just start immediately taking 50% less damage. Let's say it like that. And now this threshold is removed, from my understanding, and the curve is evenly spread throughout all the levels. So each level, each upgrade of the mercenary should give you better and better, not reliant that much on the breakpoints themselves. So yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about. A roller coaster. Well, I mean, I went to bed really discouraged and sad. And when I woke up, I didn't even have my glasses on yet. I started PC and started reading through all of this. And yeah, I'm super happy instead. Went to bed super sad, woke up super happy. Great. And now let's just finish up real quickly with the gear changes. And yeah, the gear changes. All of the gear is still the same. PoE link in the description. Still the same anointment, still the same weapons. Just new flasks with better rolls of the things that I want. And corrupted blood immunity flask. But there's one notable change I did. And that ties up with the skill tree. So the skill gem changes. First of all, Assassin's Mark is not linked with Mark on Hit anymore. I'm using Life Tap, Assassin's Mark, and Enhance. And I'm self-casting my Assassin's Mark. I'm self-casting it actually. And it doesn't matter because the Assassin's Mark mark skills do not get... They do not expire. They're on the boss all time unless he leaves the arena or something, basically resets in the boss arena. So the marks stay on the boss or stay on the enemy for infinite duration. And now that freed up a slot, and I did the change, I put it to my 3 link, and I did the change. I use Automation, Blood Rage, Molten Shell, not using Val Molten Shell anymore, but I'm using normal Molten Shell with quality, and more duration support. And that means Molten Shell actually is stronger than Val Molten Shell in a sense. Val Molten Shell can take more damage. Normal Molten Shell can take 5,000 damage, as you can see in the text. And Val Molten Shell can actually take up to 10,000 damage and has much higher duration. But normal Molten Shell has 75% of damage from hits taken to the Molten Shell. And Val Molten Shell has only 35% damage taken from hits to the Molten Shell. So normal Molten Shell is actually stronger against big hits. And yeah, so it's usually gonna... Big hits gonna usually take down your whole Molten Shell, right? But that's a good thing. That's exactly what you want. And yeah, I'm using more duration support, still linked with Automation and Blood Rage. Blood Rage is there mainly for the 25% chance to gain Frenzy Charge on kill. I'm using Blood Rage now, and luckily I have enough life regen that you take 4% of your maximum life per second as physical damage doesn't affect me, so I'm not degenerating my life ever. But it disables quite a big portion of your life regen, so keep that in mind. But I still have my life flask, so that's completely fine. And also it's giving me quite a lot of increased attack speed, and since it's linked with Automation, I'm just so used to having Blood Rage linked with Automation that I couldn't go with without linking it with Automation. More DPS would be making a 4 link of Assassin's Mark Life Tap and Blood Rage with Enhance, because Enhance would give Blood Rage quality, and quality on Blood Rage gives more attack speed. But that's I can live with like with level 4 Enhance it would be like 7% more attack speed or increased attack speed. I can live without that. So keep that in mind, that you can switch it if you want to press your Blood Rage manually. But you don't have to. Okay, and now since we have Blood Rage for Frenzy Charge generation, let's talk about quickly about the skill tree. And yeah, I leveled up a bit, and one notable change I did, I dropped this whole cluster right here, so I saved 5 points. Now no increased charge duration, whatever that happens. With our attack speed on bosses, we're actually sustaining frenzy charges just fine, and 25% chance to gain frenzy on kill is huge, so frenzy charges are not a problem. Where it is a bit more annoying is actually bossing with endurance charges, because you now need to remember to press your enduring cry a bit more often. But yeah, I respect these 5 points and I put them right here. That's the plan that I had for this build. And now basically what I can do is next level, on level 92. Yeah, finally today I think I've got a strategy where I know what I'm gonna do. And on level 92 I'm gonna take this definitely, and I need to get a better lethal pride for me, because I'm gonna take advantage of having so many notables in range. I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 notables in range, because I'm gonna anoint these 2 notables if they give me something good. So yeah, 10 notables in radius for lethal pride. Huge, just huge. That's why I want it. And also gives us more strength, so I maybe will be able to respec some of these strength points, and or not respec but change them into tattoos. And yeah, so this is the change. This is the change pretty much. I think that's it. Just to show you what I've been farming for most of the yesterday. I was actually trying lots of strategies, and this is what I kinda stayed on for a while. And that's just basically the Kalgurin stuff to get ores, and I combine it with rogue exiles basically, and map boss farming, map boss with destructive play. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple. The rogue exiles are tough and don't accompany the boss destructive play farming strategy well, because they take quite a lot of time. Even if you have like a lot more damage than me, if you have 4 times the damage than me, then even then they're gonna take some time, because there's quite a lot of them. And at the same time they're sometimes running away or something. So I'm gonna definitely be dropping and remaking this strategy, but that'll be for today's stream. So for now, this is the Atlas skill tree that I was using. Wouldn't really recommend it. And yeah, I was trying a lot of different strategies. And one last thing that I'm gonna say is this All Flame. Where is it? Colormark Flash Propagation. This All Flame of Propagation is actually quite cheap, and it feels like it's doing a lot. Fighting a rare monster with like 30 modifiers, loot from that I imagine can be insane. I was trying this twice, and I was fighting monster with 15 modifiers, and it dropped me 4 pure 6 links. And yeah, just imagine fighting a monster with 30 modifiers. The rarity increase on that monster must be insane. But the monster is also insane. I had like 30 modifiers monster in map, and yeah, it was one tapping me almost like Mercenaries before the patch. So keep that in mind. But this is just something to think about, and I think I will do some farm with this unless it gets super expensive. Once I get my build, make my build a lot better. So yeah, that was the last teaser, let's say. That's it for the video. I hope... Oh, my character effect is bugging. Yeah, I hope that you liked the video. I hope that you found it informative. I think this is my favorite... this is the most exciting thing for me. Like the Mercenary setup, I think this is the best I could think of. And also giving us haste, I didn't even mention that, which is great. But yeah, that'll be it for the video. Sorry about it being too long again, but yeah, feel free to watch my videos just on the other monitor while you're actually playing or something. That's probably the way how I would do it, because I'm rambling lots of nonsense sometimes, but just like now, of course. But yeah, that'll be definitely it for the video. Next one, probably in 2 days. Don't want to do any promises. Definitely not tomorrow, because I need to do some changes. If the update will be tomorrow, then that means I've dropped something really crazy and I had the currency to do updates. But now I'm really broke rat. But I still have my strangle gasp ready. So yeah. With that, thank you very much for watching, Exiles. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like these videos. I actually really enjoy making these build update videos. It's so fun. And yeah, thank you very much for watching again. And see you next time, Exiles. Bye bye.